Welcome to MING Presents the Re-UP, a conversation with the artistic mind.
There he is.
What up, bro?
How are you, my friend?
I'm
good. How
thanks.
you doing? I'm good. I'm good.
Doing
Are you in
great.
a little home studio there?
Yeah, just a little one. Yeah, like drums.
The mini
Yeah,
kit.
had to make do.
I was gonna ask you if you guys have like a practice room, or if you just kind of like do your own things, and then you're playing so much that you don't really need to practice that much.
No, dude, we have a recording studio in Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
That when we're not on the road or playing, we're there. It's pretty rad. It's a pretty rad space. We're like 2 blocks from the beach, and it's just like it's kind of just magical.
I remember you talking about this before you had it. I mean, that's how long ago you guys were thinking about it.
Totally.
People were traveling. Some of you were in Santa Cruz. Some of you weren't. Some of you were. Was someone in Colorado?
Yeah, that was way back in the day. But we're all in Santa Cruz now. Like we're
Yeah.
all in Santa Cruz, all just, and it's really cool, man. Like, we're a band. So
Yeah.
it's like we're a band. So it's pretty cool to be all in the same town and kind of be a band together. And that's exciting. That's just super fun.
So for your daughter, are they all like other daddies, or are they just sort of like these dudes that are always perpetually around?
No, man, there's so many STS9 kids and stuff, so it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. They're around music, and they've been around music, and I mean, it's so epic.
Yeah.
My daughter has all these like faces for each band member. She's like, Daddy, and she does all these faces that we all do on stage. So it's pretty fun. And they're all like, they all call each other brother and sister. So it's pretty tight. It's pretty like beautiful.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
so rad.
I've seen, I've lived vicariously through Instagram, I've never met your wife and I don't know your daughter, you know what I mean? But your daughter's sort of epic in many ways. She's more of a performer than you are. I mean,
dude, totally.
Right?
Yeah, she is.
She's like second generation amped up on 10.
She's her own being. For
100%.
real. Yeah. Like, and we're just kind of like, as a dad, it's like, we're just kind of like trying to like let her be her authentic self.
Yeah.
And just do the best that we can, really.
Well, it's just like, she's full on. Well, my daughter's full on too. I mean, I don't know your wife, but I'm sure she's got to be full on. My wife is full on. And, she's gotten more mellow as we've had kids. And my son is a bit more of a chiller. He's like a chill, smart dude, like athletic, plays chess, really cool kid. And my daughter is just sort of like bananas. Like the best of me and my wife, but also the worst of both of us. She's crazy.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Isis is like, like I said, man, she's her own being, and we're just kind of here to kind of witness and maybe keep her in the no box, but just kind of like, okay, that whole thing.
Yeah. So. Keep her safe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I thought
she's a performer. She sings. She's got like a DJ thing. She surfs. She dances. She want
to be in a band with me? Does she want to be in a band with me?
Man, when I get her in the studio, when I get her to start singing, and like,
she
wants to be like a dancer singer. Like I DJ'd at our festival called Wave Spell, and she's kind of been up there with me twice now. And the first time she like sang and did this whole thing, and then the next time she was like, I don't want to sing. I just want to dance. And she's up on the DJ table, like. She was fucking next level, dude. Me and my wife.
She's gonna be in one of those memes where she takes the whole thing down with her.
Yeah, totally. She's got her own fans, man.
So what's going on in Santa Cruz right now? I mean, there's a lot more space out there, obviously, and not to say it's remote, but the traffic is different. How are people functioning on a day-to-day basis right now? How are you guys seeing each other? Like, are you quarantined with the band? Like, what's going on?
So, we kind of took like once this whole thing kind of went down, we were a week before even the government kind of sheltered in place.
Right.
Hunter's just super on it, and we were just kind of like, hey, let's just pull back. We don't know where this is going to go, not based on fear, but just definitely like the information that was out there. Let's pull back. And then, and so, yeah, we've been kind of quarantined, but like you said, you're at your beach house, I know, in New York. So it's kind of like, so we're just so blessed. Like, I know other people aren't. I know there's like in urban cities and apartments and all that stuff, but like it's so expansive here that it's just kind of like we're able to get fresh air and outside. The weather's been amazing. Like, dude, I surfed this morning. The beaches are closed from a certain amount of time. And then the band is just, really trying to be responsible, honestly.
Yeah.
We're trading files back and forth. Not that and we've been quarantined for so long that like, I don't know if the conversation is going to get to where we kind of can get back in the studio. Hopefully that's what we're all kind of keeping our fingers crossed, that like we've been quarantined, and been responsible and smart. So,
yeah,
but
I mean, it's a hard,
like conference calls.
I've been quarantined.
To check in on each other and just see where everybody's at.
Sorry, the phone just bugged out. I was losing your internet for a second. I'm still here. No, but it was stuttering on me. The Instagram stutter.
Are we back?
Yeah, we're back. I can't tell what's going on. It's a little it's clear and then you're not clear, and then
you're like circling.
Yeah, someone's saying Zach is cutting out.
You
know what's hey, what's up, Chopper Dave?
Are we good now?
No, you should be fine. You want to try to jump off and jump back on?
Back on?
All right, Zach jumped out for a second. He's having a little internet issues. Let me see if I can just grab him in again. There he is. It says he's unable to join. Let's see what happens. Anyway, thanks everyone for joining. See a lot of STS9 fans out there. There we go. Feel the real. I don't know why it's not letting him join yet. Hey, what's up, Hetty Flair? It says it's waiting for Zach. He was on a second ago, so maybe his internet got burpy. We'll see what's up. For those of you who don't know, I've known Zach and the STS9 guys for a long time. I was one half of the band MING and FS, and the guys were nice enough to have us tour with them, do a whole bunch of shows. Father of the Red, Squatch! What's going on, my friend? Let me see what's going on with Zach. Can't see what's going on here. But so we have a long history together, and it's been good to catch up with him. Been catching up with a lot of good people. Let me see what's going on here. Huh. Looks like Zach's having a hard time getting on. Let me see if I can let me see if I can ping him or something. Eugene, you're gonna have to fill in for Zach in a second, I swear. Chopper Dave! Chopper Dave's in this here, and I'm gonna have him on in a couple weeks. Maybe it's 3 or 4 weeks. And Chopper is now over at Vans, but he was our tour manager for a bit, and we've got crazy road stories, so make sure you tune in for that. And there's the Squatch. I see all kinds of STS9 fans that I know. What's going on? Let me try one more time to get him on here. Let's try it again. There you are. Through the change rooms, you couldn't be in that room.
I guess not, dude. I don't know. Sorry.
Your internet is much better wherever you are right now.
Okay, cool.
I like the wood background. It's a nice. It goes with your tan, dude.
Love it.
Yo, so is the water in Santa Cruz as cold as it is? Like, is it cold or is it can you swim without a wetsuit?
You can, but it's pretty cold for that.
Yeah.
Like when you're it's beautiful. I mean, it's almost 80 degrees out there right now, but the water's like probably like 59 degrees, 60 degrees.
Yeah.
So there's guys out there doing that, but I couldn't stay in the water that long. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I could.
Do you get up early to surf?
Yeah, I was up at like 6:30 this morning surfing.
What's the story now? I grew up around the water. My family is 10 minutes from the water. We have a place here by the water, and we spend tons of time at the beach. And I just started getting my son. I bought my son like one of those foam surfboards because East Coast surfing is not. It's like East Coast skiing. It's like
totally.
It's painful. But I bought a longboard, for him to start last year, the year before, and we go out when it's warm enough. What's the story with the time of day? If you go earlier, it's like seems like the waves roll in a different way. Is it because of the air temperature warming up and then winds pushing on the waves in a certain way, or is that just like you're looking for good days?
It's all depending on the tides. It's all depending on wind direction, swell direction. There's so many, like, I've gone down the rabbit hole of this. It's like DAWs, right? It's like that whole kind of concept. Once you kind of start going down your DAW, if you're going to work in Logic or Ableton or whatever, or Pro Tools,
right?
And then you're like getting all your plugins and you're figuring out, okay, how you're going to build. It's the same thing. Once you go down the rabbit hole of surfing, and the whole situation is like, what are the buoys doing, and what is this? All this crazy stuff. So it's mental. And man, in surfing and all my extracurricular activities, and I think that you are in the same boat, like, because we've been friends for a long time, and I know like you work out and you do all these other things, and it's kind of like how it applies and it integrates into music is so beautiful, right?
Yeah, it's a little crazy. I was trying to explain to somebody the other day. I have a lot of my friends are I have successful friends, but a lot of them aren't in the music business, my closer friends. And mainly that's because when I'm not doing music, because it's such an all-encompassing thing in my life, I like to spend time with people who do other things. Like I gravitate towards other interests, right?
Sure.
And they're always, and these are successful like bankers and lawyers and, like business people. And they're always surprised at how many disciplines you have to know as a musician in order to be good at what you do these days. It's not just like you can play drums or guitar or bass, or you can. It's just being a player is not as en vogue as it used to be. So you have to be really good at computers. You have to understand like every bit of software that comes in, plugins, outboard gear, programming, graphics, like internet. It goes on and on and on and on, the amount of things that you have to know to be a music producer these days. And I think that's sometimes I don't really think about how many disciplines I've had to learn until my friends bring them up. They'll be like, what are you doing in Photoshop? I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't ask people to do all that. I just taught myself Final Cut last year and on and on and on. It's like never ending learning. And maybe music, that's the best part about music, is that it's never ending learning. No matter how good you are, there's always something new.
And then how all of those things apply to when you actually get to make music or play your instrument, right? I just started doing like video editing as well, and it's like super fun, and like how it connects to the music, and then it's kind of like, oh, this is like the rhythm of editing video is the rhythm of drums, right?
That's 100% it.
And same with surfing. Like the rhythm of surfing is the rhythm of music, and it's like all of these things are just like as simple as golf, like a golf swing, right?
Right.
It's like they use music and tempo to work on your golf swing. It's like it's just, I start kind of like taking that down the rabbit hole, and I love that. I'm like, oh, dude, how it all applies and how it can integrate and how I can apply it to my music, and my music, it applies it to all this stuff. So I just get kind of like, mental with it.
It's all a continuum for me too. I find the same, like, and that's another thing when I speak to other musicians they're always asking me, like, how do you, because I do music 5 days a week and the weekends, right? So it's my job. So, and your job, obviously, it's our job, but but I'm saying, like, you can't, there's always something else that you're doing that helps you. Like if I go on a run that's like 3 to 5 miles, or I go for a long bike ride. In that bike ride or run, I can work out a million things that I had in my head for songs or a problem that I had in the studio or something. And you get into that sort of like tantric, I'm not thinking about the ride anymore, I'm not thinking about the run, or I'm not trying to surf. I'm just, I'm in the, and then all of a sudden all these things open up in your brain and you're able to create something or solve a problem that didn't seem solvable musically, and you're like, and it had nothing to do with doing it in the studio. You're like, I went for a skateboard, and when I came back from the skateboard, I feel I'm able to do this now.
Oh, dude, and I've been doing these online kind of lessons and connecting with our fans and doing all this stuff, and it's been so cool and kind of like going like introverted of kind of like people have all these questions and are asking, how do you do this and how do you do that, and it's like it's been a really kind of cool experiment because it's kind of like when you allow it in whatever facet of form, right? Making music, playing music out live. It's like, if I'm thinking about playing a fill if I'm thinking about it, usually I batch it, dude.
Right. Well, like, if you think about when you're playing, you have to not think.
But if I can allow it to kind of like come, if the music can come through me and all my brothers and sisters on stage and we're like in it and we allow that to happen and we're not pushing, or we're not pulling, or we want our bandmate to do something different. It's like if we're just allowing it and playing and conversating with each other, that's the magic. And then that then transcends in all aspects in my life, but I think that it's just so rad.
I think the easiest way to describe that feeling for people who don't or aren't in bands or, is when you're driving and you realize you don't think you've looked at the road in miles. You feel like you've been looking in the rearview mirror or in your head for miles, and you're like, oh my God, I haven't been looking at the road for, like you're on stage doing this thing and you're in it, and then the next thing you know, you're like, I don't remember making the changes. I don't remember singing the backgrounds. Like, how did we? And then you realize that you've done it so many times that you're just, you're in it and you're just down that rabbit hole, and that's the best feeling.
That's a great analogy, because I've had scary moments where I've just been like, how long have I been in my little magical fairy world?
driving
like, oh, this is so amazing, oh shit, I should drive.
I remember playing in a metal band when I was in high school, and singing was new to me, and playing, like, that wasn't my thing. I was like I sing backgrounds. I'm not like a lead singer, but in that band, like, didn't have to think about playing, but I did have to think about singing and playing, or like when I was going to do that. So I can vividly still remember playing shows where I was totally thinking about something else, maybe thinking about like a conversation with a girlfriend or something that I had to do in the middle of a show. I'm like, I do my thing, and I'm thinking about something else, right? Until I had to step up to sing the background vocals. And then all of a sudden I was like, holy cow. You know what I mean? Because you're like, oh, dude, totally.
Oh, and the ebb and flow of each, like for us, like each different night, like what you were saying, like, but sometimes when you drive, analogy, metaphor, like sometimes you drive and like you're so focused and what's all going around you, right? And it might not be the most enjoyable experience because you are counting the minutes. You're kind of like, maybe you're trying to beat a time, or you're weaving in and out of traffic and you're in the zone, but it might not be enjoyable, right? And it's the same time on, like, when we play so many shows a year, like some nights it's like we have just, you're in your head, and you're kind of like, maybe you didn't get in the zone that night, or I don't know, you talked to someone that just like threw you off, or I don't know, maybe you're just not in it. Like sometimes my hands don't even feel like my hands,
Well, I would say for a drummer, it must be really difficult, because I know as a guitar player playing live or playing bass live, I may not be the best. Like if I have a bad night, it's not like where your whole body is fighting you. Yeah. But when you're a drummer and it's not working, your whole body's like fighting you. I remember one of the things I really, I got off your energy when I first met you was like, you were really in tune with your body, but never mind the drums, like with yoga and everything else. And I was like, all right, so that guy's really dialed into being connected physically to himself. And that's probably why he's able to go out and do this thing the same way. And as I got older, I got more and more into staying connected with my body and partying less and doing all that to be able to, be able to not have to force a feeling on stage or force your body to do something.
Yeah, 100%. I think it takes, for each individual musician, artist, DJ, it takes something different for everybody, right? The way that I look at it is that kind of, I have to be kind of in the zone, centered, for me to be able to kind of allow and execute and be that kind of heartbeat and the vibe to hold for my brothers and sisters on stage, So like, I hope that I want to be the best that I can be. And that's like, all these, and especially DJs and all, not that it's trending, but it is, there's this health thing where everybody's working out and a lot of people are doing yoga because it's like mind, body, spirit. And even in my little lessons that I'm doing, it's like the drum ethos. It's like, it's beyond just rudiments and these things. It's kind of like, how do you look at it? Like, how are you looking at this amazing instrument, and whatever instrument that might be, if it's a computer making beats or whatever, but it is allowing us to kind of like be creative. And it's like, do we want to be like, how do you want to wake up in the world? Like, do you want to like create, or do you want to like react to the world? Right. And it's like, I just want to create. That's where and you're in the same boat. Like, let's create as much.
That's why social media is a little bit hard for me, because I'm not really interested I'm interested in constantly pushing myself to come up with something new and create something new and fail and do all that other stuff and and succeed. I'm not really interested in like promoting myself all the time, because it takes away from my creative flow. And I think younger musicians are always like, oh, you guys, it was such a different time when you were doing X, Y, and it is. I think the thing that's terrible and good now is that, yes, anybody can promote themselves, but it's such a constant distraction from the flow of making something great. And what that's done to me as a producer is I used to have longer swaths of working time where I was I had more time to figure things out. And now my brain is like, always like, so I do these shorter spurts to get things done quicker. And in some ways it's like micro creativity. You know what I mean? It's like, but what I can do in a half an hour used to take me 3 or 4 hours. And sometimes, but I've become okay with less time spent. And I think you're having children do that to you as well, because you're like
that's inevitable. The micro and the spurts, because it's like you're in it, and then it's like barging in, Daddy, I need this, Daddy, I need that, or whatever it might be. So absolutely. And this time for me, it's been so eye-opening and just kind of a lot has changed and a lot hasn't changed, because it's like, but I've developed like new practices and kind of new paradigms that I feel like if I can kind of stick to it, how it's going to apply to when everything that kind of comes back, it's going to be pretty cool.
That's what I was going to, you said something earlier about the band, like where you guys are quarantined, but you're not together yet because, it's a lot to take on, right?
Absolutely.
And, it just opens so many things that we're not, is it going to be okay for our parents? What about our children? Like all that stuff. But I'm sort of very hopeful for the way that we're starting to communicate and collaborate in a different space. And I feel like people who are able to step up to the level are going to rise up again, because I'm reconnecting with so many great people who are self-sufficient, who, maybe didn't know how to track their vocals, but now they're learning how to do that. Or someone who is more of a session person, but now they're learning how to program properly. And now they see the value in like things that other, like, someone was like always like, oh, drums have to be real. I was like, yeah, but I program drums like a motherfucker. So drums are who programs them. So, Steve Wolf is a great drummer. Do you know Steve? But he does these, he used to be a huge session guy, and 90% of the stuff he does now is programmed because it's all going to the grid anyway. Right. For what he does, he knows how to play it. So it's right. You know what I mean? It's like,
it's the same thing for me. Like Alana's husband, Alana's our bass player, and it's the same thing. Cause we went to the studio, we got mics, and I've been experimenting with like where to put the bass drum. I only have 4 mics, but like, it's been super exciting. And then I'll text him. I'm like, dude, I learned this, I learned that. And he's like, dude, just go with it. Cause he's kind of our engineer. He's our engineer. And like, the master behind it. And it's just been like, he's like, dude, this sounds great. And it's its own thing. And it's like how we can apply it and all work together to where I would just like give it to him. You know, it's been super neat. Like just kind of leveling up and taking kind of stock in where you're at and all that stuff. So it's super cool.
That leads me to a bunch of questions, which, oh, hey, you're always stealing the show. I'm Aaron, by the way.
Hi.
Hi, Isis. She's right. My daughter would come knocking on the door right here, and then she'd want to sit on my lap, and then she'd like be shy that you were here, and then she'd be like, turn the keyboard on so I can play it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what she does. I can be in the middle of anything. It doesn't matter. She just wants to come in and play the keyboard because we've had like that session. You know, when they just sit on your lap and they're like,
I love it.
It's the best. It is the best. Yeah, it is the best.
So best.
And the weird thing about the music thing, to digress, is that I really have no interest, and I know this might sound strange, I'm not pushing my kids to do music at all.
Yeah.
Because it's such a difficult lifestyle, because I do it professionally, that, and I know what it took as like I was obsessed with music as a kid. I always wanted to be in a band. I always wanted, you know what I mean? Like there wasn't a thing. It was like, that was the dream, to be a successful musician. So I'd rather kids just figure out.
Same.
Yeah, well, but like, so when I see my son, he's unbelievable at chess. He's 8.5. He started beating me about a year ago. He plays before school. He plays on a Friday afternoon. He's playing right now online. Like he's bananas good at chess, and because he's like the way that like we're playing music, he's putting it to chess. And I'm thrilled that he's doing that. I mean, he beats me every day when we play. Like, I'll beat him here and there, but it's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh, our kids are smarter than us.
Well, he'll develop same set of skills, because we know that what we have is in our children. My daughter's more the performer, musician. She's shy and she doesn't like the focused attention, but she'll like be out in the garden singing for 2 hours while she like does stuff and rooting around, doing all that. Back to the band stuff, though. What will be really cool is when people come back more self-sufficient in a lot of ways, because they don't have the bass player to play that part for them, or they don't have the singer to do whatever. That kind of happened to me in a way with singing. When I was with Ming and FS, a lot of the stuff that, like, I didn't sing in Ming and FS. He would do vocal stuff in the studio and all that, but I never liked the way my voice sounded in the studio. So I didn't do it there. And after Ming and FS, I started, when I was doing a lot of writing sessions, I'd need to sing my ideas to people, and that was really uncomfortable at first. But because of necessity, I realized, like, oh, I can sing, and it's easier as a musician. That's like the easiest instrument to have. Once you can sing, all of a sudden all these other instruments like fall into place. And it was just because of a necessity that I needed to be able to sing these ideas to people. And then piano came after that, because I'd sing, and then I'd be like, if I couldn't like quite get the notes right, I'd just start playing the notes on the piano the correct way so I could get the pitches right. Next thing you know, I'm doing melodies in my hand and singing with them, right? And so like every little necessity that I needed as a working producer sort of started backfilling. It's weird, right? You learn all these things. It's not even intentional. I've even tried to sit down and learn new instruments, and I'm too far ahead with guitar and bass and whatever, and programming and all that stuff, that it's hard for me to learn traditionally. But I learned the way that I use it in the studio, which is like I can one-hand things really well.
And it's just ear. It's the same for me. Like when I'm kind of like working on something, we're working on a like new track, and now I can like hear and be like, I'm a drummer, right? So my music theory is very limited, but like hearing the same key and hearing that, it's like getting better, rather than it was just like, this is off. It's like, no, I know it's off. And my wife has amazing pitch, and she's like, oh, if you just pitch it up or pitch it down. And it's helping me to kind of like understand where my 808 is going to hit compared to whatever, So
we should talk about that. Playing an electronic kit and playing a live kit. I don't know if people know that when you play a drum kit that's tuned properly, the drum really resonates and the whole kit sings. Like it's unbelievable when a kit is tuned properly. And when you take
I wish I could tune my drums for every song live. You can't do that, but like we do that in the studio, dude. And like Brad and Hunter, like they will get the kick drum like up, down, and like for every track we get every drum tuned, and it's really when you hear a drum set tuned to the track, comparatively speaking, we've just leveled up.
Yeah. I mean, that's my whole life. In dance music, everything that I'm doing is tuned and drunk. Everything is like,
it's so
all that's so dialed. But as a live instrument, what I was going to ask you is, so say you got your drum kit is tuned well, right? Whatever, to whatever median song you're going to be playing. Like if you've got a whole bunch of songs in A minor, you should just tune your drums to A minor or whatever. But you play live, and when you mic the drum kit live, it's like you have this extra, when you hear, as long as there's not a huge delay between what you're playing and what's coming out through the speakers, which I'm sure in a lot of the big places that you play, you have that. But in the smaller places where there's no delay between playing and what's coming out the speakers, you get that sort of like cannonball feeling when you're hitting the drums. How does it feel different when you're playing the electronic kit that has all the subsonics and all that other stuff? Does it still feel like it's emanating from you because of the power, or is it a little bit more sort of, like playing in the can?
It's more playing in the can. It doesn't have the same, because like, number one, you already, like, even in, when we play these kind of big places, it's like you have the sound of the drum, then we're all in in-ears, and then it's kind of projected, out. So it's kind of like this thing that kind of becomes one sound. But when you hit electronic or my electronic kick or whatever, it's kind of like there's nothing, and then it just comes here and here, but it doesn't have the same.
It's not resonating.
It doesn't have the same connectivity. It sounds fucking good.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the same, like, it's kind of like if I was, like when you, it's like doesn't feel that, it's kind of like, and then you hear that later, it's that same kind of feeling to where it's not
that's a product. We should talk about that later. But like, how people wear the sub packs because they have small speakers and they wear the sub pack? Imagine like your seat or something resonated.
Oh, it's a thumper.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
It thumps when you
yeah. It's pretty amazing. You have an amp. It's like you have an amp with it, and then it's bolted to your seat. So it's kind of like just gives you that feel because everybody's in in-ears.
Someone from Harmonic Convergence. Yeah.
No way.
That was one of the best festivals ever. I love that festival.
Oh man, there's so many good people on here.
Jason I know. It's hard. I've seen them all go through.
Oh my God, dude.
Say hello to some people. Like there's amazing people here.
Dude, this is crazy.
Eugene is on here. I'm not
DJ Logic, what up?
Logic. Oh my God, I haven't seen Logic in forever. What are you doing, dude? You still on? Logic, hit me up, man. DM me.
Oh my gosh. Look at all this love. My goodness gracious.
When I saw Logic there, it reminds me of Jam Cruise. Did you ever do Jam Cruise?
Oh God, dude. I don't like boats, dude.
I didn't know that. I don't, I hate cruises. I also don't like parades, but that's a whole other thing. I'm not parades, boat cruises, like all
the boats. I mean, it has nothing, like, it just has nothing to do with the vibe is amazing. The concept is amazing. And like, you try some things and some things work, and like the boat, just does not work for STS9. The boat is like, it just doesn't, we don't feel good.
I get seasick. So like, I always worry that I'll get, that's another thing. Like I get altitude sickness as well. So like when we used to go play Sundance Film Festival, you fly in for that, and coming from New York, it's a big altitude change.
Totally.
And those times, like, you were just awake all the time. But I remember part of playing there is like you play on a Friday and Saturday night. It was Harry O's. Is that in? Dude. Yeah. Harry O's. You play at Harry O's, but then the promoters would give you like lift tickets from Monday to Thursday, and then that's what you do. But I would be so ill, so happy because the snowboarding is so good in Park City, Utah.
Oh, Utah! We were just in Aspen. That was our last show. We did 4 nights in Aspen, and it's like one of my favorites. I don't know. I mean, I know my bandmates and my manager and my agent don't exactly enjoy it, but like I snowboard, so it's like epic. And we hiked like Highland Bowl, and it like snowed, and I stayed 2 extra days, and it was just epic. So good. those are like some of the funnest, like, because then you're like playing music and doing like something that you love, and it's just so rad.
We played the first Coachella, and that was like one of those moments where it was, well, first of all, nobody knew what it was. It was this festival in Indio, California that nobody had ever heard of. It was like the end of a harrowing tour. And
did we play the same one, Aaron?
It was the first one.
We might have played the second one.
You know, we were booked to play the second one, and we got pushed off or something happened. But we had been doing a super political tour prior to that, Bush tour. And I have a feeling that somebody was like, we can't have them play this because the guy's a total right-wing nut, right? The guy who runs Coachella, or did back then. But I don't know what happened, but we played the first one. But that whole like backstage area, I have a crazy Coachella story, but I'll tell it another time. But that whole backstage area with like the misting tents and the massage and all that, it was such a welcome experience. I really love festivals before they become these like, I don't know, they just become super overblown and commercial. I mean, that was like the indie band festival. Totally.
It's so cool because we were supposed to play an amazing festival this weekend actually, called Summer Camp, and it's like we did this kind of like Zoom meeting, the 4 band members yesterday, with one of the guys, and Ian Goldberg is the guy who kind of runs the festival, and we've been friends with him for years, and they asked us kind of like, well, what's so special about Summer Camp, you know? And it was like, not that we kind of thought, and it was like, well, number one, the community, that it's been going on for a certain amount of years. It's its 20th year going on. And then it's like, it's an independent festival. So it's been an independent festival for 20 years. And it's just been like, that's pretty much kind of magical, right? Because all these other ones, I mean, we used to play Hangout Festival. And Hangout was so cool. Like, it was such a cool concept and idea in Mobile, Alabama, on the ocean. And it was like, just a different idea. Rather than camping, you can stay in the condos and whatever. And then it kind of like switched to where it was like, okay, what's popular? And that's the direction that we're going to go in. And it's not like we're bummed that we can't play Hangout. It's just that like, it was such a cool concept and idea. And then they go a different direction, which everybody, you know, they have to do what they have to do, just like an artist, you know?
Yeah.
But it is like, I know what you mean. It's like before the festival gets to where it's like neon and, you know,
I love playing. What was the one? The Harmonic Convergence. I love playing that stuff with you guys because for us it was a departure from the urban settings that we played all the time. I mean, we were in rock clubs and hip hop clubs and raves and that kind of thing, and all of a sudden we were transported into like loveliness and, you know, nice people and like just a different vibe for us. And I loved it. I was like, this is so
we
good.
Were such fans, Aaron. Like that's really where like it all comes from. Is it like even because Harmonic Convergence kind of turned into Regeneration and those types of festival things. And it's like, even with Wavespell, it's like, ultimately, we're fans of music. Yeah. And we were like, dude, Ming and FS, like, we couldn't even believe that, like, you guys were like, yeah, sure, we'll do it. And then, like, Telephone Tel Aviv and Richard Devine and, like, because you guys were our heroes. You're our hero, you know, because, like...
But there's no reason, but it's, you know, like... It's
but
funny.
I'm just saying, it's like, dude, we loved your music. And it's like, that's ultimately what's so rad about music and how we kind of, like, keep doing this thing. Because it's like, we're fans of music, ultimately, right? And it's kind of like... And then you become friends, longtime friends. I mean, we've known each other forever. And it's like, that's just so rad. Because we're all just fucking human.
I don't think people really understand, like... You know, I have another guy, you know, Karsh Khaled, you know Karsh. He was on tour with us, right? So Karsh and I went to high school together.
Yeah, I know.
And I've known him since, like, whatever, you know. And
we still keep in contact.
I know. We still do. And his daughter, like, I held his daughter was, like, this little teeny nugget. She's now, I think, like, 17, 18. It's crazy, but...
And she's a musician.
Oh, yeah, he's an amazing musician.
But
all that came from his dad. We used to play metal in his dad's. They had this like veranda. It was outside the house. There was this outdoor sort of like sunroom, and he had this big metal kit with the whole cage and the whatever. Blah, 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 blah. And we would play all this metal stuff. But then his father, after we would jam this loud ass metal music, his father would always like play these Indian classical records to us after we were done while we were eating. Like his mom would make amazing food, and I'd be like, oh my god, I'm in heaven. This like, you know, real Indian food. And we're just sitting and eating, and his dad's playing these records, and it was just such another like and now to where he's become this sort of like Indian classical musician with all the fusion stuff that he does, but knowing where that root was from, it's so good. You know what I mean? But he's another guy, like, we grew up listening to Sting and all these different people. You know, he plays with these people now, and I played with open for Sting too. It's like when you do the thing long enough and you stay in the business and you're true to your art form, you just become on par with people. Yes, they're ahead of you in time, but you're really just in the same wave that's happening. And like, if you continue to do it, eventually the paths cross or they never do, and then you either become friends or you don't. And it's amazing how some of the people that I would see as like idols just were really just people ahead of me in time, like literally in time.
Sure.
And then you meet them and you're like, oh my God, we're the same people. It's you know, like, you're my older brother. And you know what I mean?
And we just kind of, and it's like the same path. It's a parallel path of just whatever it is. But I mean, Karsh, dude, there's some epic Karsh and STS9 collaboration.
I'm sure.
From Berkfest, from San Francisco, we had him out for the Fillmore. I mean, those recordings of him on tabla, and I mean, you talking about allowing and just like trying to keep up with like a master on. I mean, there's some amazing music created with that guy. Yeah, so you should have him on this, dude. He's I know we still keep in contact.
And the thing with Carson, like, he's literally my brother. We used to look the same. Like, you know, we're really like brothers from back in the day. He's just flaky as fuck. That's it. So like, I'd have him on this show, but I don't want to chase him down. Like, I'll just call him.
He's busy.
I'll call him and be like, yo, I called you out with Zach on the re-up, and I want you to be on the show, but I don't want you to flake out on me. No. He's home with his daughter and his wife, so it's all good. I should do that.
I know, because he's back and forth, like India, New York, India, New York.
Yeah.
India, New
Well,
York,
they were going to move to India, but then he was glad that they didn't move because it ended up getting a little bit weird. And, you know, like, it's always weird that we have to do that stuff with music where you're like, I'm getting so much work here, I should move here. And then the second you think you're going to move somewhere, something changes.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and then all of a sudden it's like,
100%. Yeah.
It's weird.
Absolutely. And then, so let me ask you a question. So you're at the beach, and then did you take all your gear and then just bring it to the beach?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to pan around totally, but here's like, you know, I can't really do it. There's a computer, keyboards, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to mess this up. But basically the same thing happened with my wife and I. Well, first of all, because New York was heating up very quickly.
Totally.
You know, and we're in Harlem. And so in Harlem, when things get a little bit sketchy, they get sketchier faster because the people it's a little bit more wildlife. Like, it's more of a raw part of New York. And so when this thing started to break out, we have this beach place, and we usually come here on the weekends in the spring once it gets warm enough. But this was still like
cold.
March. It's cold. Yeah. And we were like, I think we should leave. Like you said, not out of fear, but out of knowledge, being like, we might get stuck in the city, and that might not be the right place to be if things just get crazy.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's just pack the kids up. We both did. We packed the kids up. We got enough stuff in there that we could come out here. We got set up. And after about a week, and then it started to like
ramp up.
It was ramping up in New York. And we have a guest house. This is the guest house. It basically has a queen size bed in it and a bathroom. And I pushed the queen size bed up against the wall, and I went back to the city, and I got I got my studio. And funny thing is, I had just pared down the studio about a year ago, got rid of tons of outboard gear, got a UAD system with great analog plugins and all that.
In the box.
Everything's in the box, and I have it all. And it was torturous thinking about, I'm going to have to go take my studio apart and pack up all this stuff and come out. But in doing it, I realized that I had almost been prepared for this in a really weird way because I had consolidated already. And then I packed everything up. I moved it out here. And truthfully, it's brilliant. I like it a lot. The other thing that's really important to me, and this is something that, people who are tuned into this, one of the best things that's happened during this terrible time for me personally, and I'm a busy dad, record producer, blah, 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 artist, DJ, and obviously you all know about Zach and how busy he is that I'm getting to talk to people like Zach on the phone. We never have time to talk to each other on the phone. We had a conversation prior to this where the two of us couldn't get off the phone. We were just like, this was like earlier this week. But this whole concept, the re-up, came from me being able to speak to people that I love that I haven't been able to do, because we're so busy. Who's got time to like, and especially, and you know, whether this is being sexist or not, men don't tend to call each other up and rap on the phone for 45 minutes about nothing.
Oh,
Like,
sometimes we have some bromances. Come on, we do.
I'm just saying, I don't get to do it that often. Like, I have my, you know, like, there's one, I talk to my boy Luis, who's my manager. We'll rap about anything. I talk to him 3 or 4 times a day on Skype. We're always blah, 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 blah. But like, you know, catching up with you, I love to talk to Hunter. I haven't talked to Hunter in a million years.
I know.
I love to talk to Hunter.
I know. And you know what's, it's so funny that you say that, because that is such a thing that, like, in all of my relations, from my parents to my brother, then to my like extended family, my friends that I hang out with, I surf with, and then to like my bandmates that we like are playing music together, to my manager. I mean, it's like, if you just extend this, you know, in a year, how are you guys doing? We're busy. I'm just busy, right? Everybody is so fucking busy. And then it's kind of like, this is kind of pulled back to where it's kind of like a little retrospective of like, to a level, I've been busy because I've been hustling in all different kind of realms, trying to kind of just figure out what's next. And like, you know, we've been on the phone with, you know, where's music going to go? What's next? How are we going to, you know, we have to postpone Red Rocks. We have to postpone, you know, all of these things. So there's a lot of busy stuff. But then in other aspects, it's just been like exactly what you're saying, catching up with people and just kind of slowing down, shifting focus, and kind of almost even just remembering what's really important. Like you said, like family, like, dude, the family time and like the tenderness of hanging with wife and child and creating new paradigms and new projects and just having fun.
Yeah.
It's been pretty, that's where like just, you know, and we all have our, I mean, that's all, I'm like painting kind of a beautiful picture. Now I've had my ups and downs, emotional roller coaster.
We all have.
That we all have, like, more or less, that like in very short amount of times, like I'm happy, I'm sad, like, you know, but it's been pretty rad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm primarily happy. It's been harder on my wife because she's, you know, working her full-time job, and then the kids are doing their schooling in the other house as well, and it's all online. But my 5-year-old doesn't really care about doing school. She's like, F this. I just want to, you know, like, I want to go play with clay and like draw on the walls and shit, you know. And yeah, so it's harder on my wife. It's more difficult for her, and I recognize that. And I'm generally happy most of the time. But, you know, like yesterday I was a little bit down in the whole sense of like, I'm kind of, you know, the pattern is getting a little, the like, how long is this pattern going to, you know, continue to be the cycle? It's like, it's a little bit mind numbing, you know?
Well, I was kind of on like a roll. I kind of had this going on. I was recording drums. We're passing it around. People were sending stuff back. And it was just kind of like this kind of rumble tumble. I'm feeling it. And then Monday, and then whatever it's worth, kind of feeling that same thing. Then like Monday kind of rolled around, and it was like, it just kind of, the inspiration wasn't quite there. So I didn't try to force it, you know? I've been reading a lot. I've been writing a lot. My wife has been just the most amazing human in like helping me navigate just some new creative avenues, and like putting books in front of me that are like incredibly captivating. And I'm like,
I can't read. I can't read right now. I cannot. I mean, I'm not a big reader because I don't have a lot of time. I just don't have time. I don't have the energy to read. I can't. My wife is reading great books right now, and I'm just like, it's taking me out of my energy to like make records. What?
You got to find the right thing to read.
I know.
Yeah, because it's like, I
have so many other interests.
A buddy of mine, an amazing human. His name's John Rose. He had this kind of like mantra that like, what he does is when he gets up in the morning, he has like maybe 3 books that he's reading, right? And he only reads 10 pages out of each book, right? So I've kind of done that. And that's been, and then this one book kind of like, I cannot put it down. And it's like, so it's kind of taken a hold of the other 3 books. And now I'm reading 4 books. But it is like, that's been just that cool way, because it's not daunting. It's like, oh, I have 4 books. I'm going to read 10 pages, have a stopping place, unless it kind of whatever. But all of that knowledge and then she's doing this, my wife's doing this writing thing that's been super cool too, in this time, about like just there's these exercises that you kind of write about, which has been just so rad too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The next thing that I'm trying to figure out mentally is that, because my son does chess before school, but I'm thinking about when the summer comes around and they're not in school anymore, of how I'm going to change my day, because I'm going to want to get up in the morning and go surfing with him. I'm going to want to get up early and be like, let's try to go to the ocean for a bit and maybe do half a day of the ocean and come back and then try to push my working day later. But the problem is I'm so on this, like, my kids get up early. So, like, I'm not up till 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm up at 6 in the morning, and I'm tired by 9, 10 o'clock. And I don't know if I would be able to be creative at 7 o'clock in the studio after dinner and, after being tired of. So I'm trying to figure out what the next thing is going to be for me on that. But, so a couple other things. There's so many things. So many things I want to talk about. We're going to run out.
Holy shit, it's gone by.
I know. I knew this was going to happen. I told you on the phone. I was like, we're not even going to get anywhere. We're going to blabber like little girls. And we're just going to be
It's so good. So good.
I always wonder if people, if like, because I'm a New Yorker, I talk fast. And my friends, the people that I like tend to gravitate towards are sort of like fast like you are. You know what I mean? Because we can get on it. We can talk really quick. And it doesn't, when I have friends who talk slower, I love them to death. But I'm like, I always feel like I'm taking the oxygen out of their sentences. I can't wait for them to finish. Right?
Oh, man. I mean, it's so good, too. Like, it was so cool when I announced this and just kind of, like, went back down, like, just memory lane and thought about, harmonic convergence. I remember we did, remember when we did Webster Hall?
Yes. I was thinking about that. You did, wasn't that a different band? What was that band called?
That was, I don't remember who I was playing with, but, like, you guys did this other room and we stayed up late and we partied. And, I mean, and then just, like, all the fun times and then, like, listening to that, it just kind of came back up. Like, people kind of got excited and they started posting on Instagram and all over social media about the Ming and FS Tokyo remix.
Right.
And then, like,
I forgot about that.
And then I listened to that and I was like, oh, dude, it's
well, we gotta, one thing we're definitely going to do is I'm going to stay in touch with you now, obviously, besides all this, right? But I definitely want to do a project with you guys in some way, whether it's just you or I feel like it's now this.
Well, me and you have been dreaming. Yeah, but we've been dreaming in this whole thing. Like, you hit me up probably like 2 years ago, and we've been, ever since you hit me up about like doing shows and trying to figure out that integration, it kind of rekindled.
I mean, I think that's the thing that this whole unfortunate time is bringing about, is that people who are supposed to be connected together will reunite in their own way. Because there's not a lot of room for the BS. I don't have time.
Yeah.
For people who aren't like responding and just, like giving me gas. It's like I need.
But I do understand. Like, I have empathy and compassion for that, man. Because it's like, dude, everybody's is as much as my kind of roller coaster is what it is. Like, I think that everybody else is. So I'm just trying to be like super empathetic to that. Like, hey, man, this is a crazy
sucker punch at Webster Hall. Sorry, Swatch came with the sucker punch.
Oh, okay.
I remember the first time.
Right. Sucker punch. That's right.
I'm not a big weed smoker anymore. Like when I was in high school, I was a big weed smoker. But I remember one time, I don't remember where we were. I think it was Hunter and somebody else. It was either Hunter and Swatch gave me this big bowl with keef in it, and holy cow!
Was it the volcano?
It was something, dude. I almost died. That was the first time I was like, oh my god, people
remember,
smoke.
I don't smoke weed, but like there was I just remember when I just saw
the Roxy in Atlanta. I probably had to pace around for hours. But when you're so high.
But you remember that big balloon? It was like that big balloon thing, right?
I don't remember. All I know is that
I just remember that volcano being backstage, and I remember so many people being like, what is that? And then having the same experience that you had. Like, whoa.
I mean, almost died.
That was like before vape was vape. There's so many amazing humans on this right now.
I know. I'm not.
Dude,
this is kind
Scott, of Stalker. I mean, dude, look at all these beautiful people. I mean, it's so rad. What up, Hunter?
Let's do something that I've been trying to do on every single one of these, and if because we're about at the hour mark, and then it either will kick us off or it'll let us keep going. I don't know.
All right, cool.
And I'm gonna get rid of one of the questions. I always ask these funny questions, but one of them is music or money, and I'm dumping that one because I don't want anyone to answer money. I don't want. It's a question like who wants. I don't want to hear that. All right. So faith or science?
Science.
Rave or festival?
Festival.
Ocean, lake, or desert?
Ocean.
Acid or mushrooms?
Mushrooms.
Big room or small room?
I'm gonna have to go with A and B because I love both about the small room, and I love both. I love the big room too. I love both. I really do.
What's your superpower?
Jen, what's my superpower?
It's not appropriate.
Oh, Jen for the win. That's the win right there. How would you incorrectly describe your job?
Oh my goodness, that it's like this luxurious, 5-star hotel, magical, like, let me just say this, like more times than not, like you wake up on the tour bus and you're like, where the fuck am I going to take a shit? You know what I mean? It's not this like magical golden throne and just magicalness, It's
one thing that, just to digress from the questions, one thing that people...
my daughter has my superpower. What is it?
Saying curse words every day.
Saying curse words every day.
You know what? My kids would say exactly the same thing. My kids know how to use the F word in all the ways you can use it.
Yeah. She mouths it.
Yeah. My daughter, when she was like a year and a half, 2 years old, she was by herself and she dropped something. Like none of us were around her, and I heard her go, shit. And I was like, well, at least she curses the right way.
How old were you? Isis was like a certain age, and she was like, and because I say the F word so many times, I think she was like 2, and she's sitting on her changing table, and she's looking down, and I pull out a pair of underwear, and she's like, not those fucking panties. I was like, Jen!
And she was like, well, that came from you.
Yeah, it all comes from us, doesn't it?
They usually
I
come
got to
from
answer
the
these questions or
dads.
they're going to jump us off. Hold on.
All right. What animals should survive if only one can survive?
Whales.
Cat or dog?
Dog.
If not music, then what?
Permanent vacationer.
Favorite meal?
Chicken noodle soup.
No. Favorite meal? Sushi, probably.
Hunter or gatherer?
Fish. Gatherer.
What's the last gift you gave someone?
Oh, go get it. Go get it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
We have 1 minute and 30 seconds, so...
You got 30 seconds. You better hurry. I gave my daughter and my wife these trolls that have crystals for hair.
Oh, yeah.
I got it for my wife for Mother's Day, and then my daughter was like, you cannot give it. It's pretty cool.
Do you have a favorite metal band? Oh, nice.
Absolutely. Ministry.
Okay.
Done.
And the most important question, what genre are the Talking Heads?
Pop? Pop music? Pop. I would say pop. Popular music. And here's...
It's 100% what we talk about, and that's why it's brilliant.
I love you.
I love you too, brother. We're done in 44 seconds. I will be in touch with you. I'll call you next week. I'm not going to wait for... I'll just... Thanks, everyone, for joining in.
Thank you, everybody.
This will be up on podcast in a couple of days. We'll send out links. Thanks so much for participating. Everyone be safe. Speak to you soon.
Let's do this again.
100%.
All right.